Okay, YouTube, this is a short video on removing the rear bumper cover of a 2012 Cadillac SRX. So if you're like me and you like to do a little bit of stuff yourself and you own a Cadillac, this is my wife's car, you might have noticed it is very, very difficult to find any kind of how-to information. Clearly, most Cadillac owners are not interested in doing a lot of automotive maintenance themselves. So there literally was nothing out there. There is something about removing a front bumper cover and a little bit about adding a trailer hitch to this vehicle, but could not find anything for the rear. So I'm not a YouTube professional, have no plans to be one. Apologize in advance for, this is gonna be just a few quick snippets because as you can see, I've already taken off the bumper cover. It was surprisingly easy. Basically, watch the video for adding a trailer hitch. There's a little more detail there for removing this piece right here. This is the new one off of eBay, but that's just a couple of screws right there and there. And that piece pretty much comes right out. But again, watch the trailer hitch video. It's a little more detailed for removing that piece. Bumper cover itself, there's some screws right here. You can see by each rear wheel well, there'll be one screw underneath to take out, and then these three right here. Same on the other side. Once you do the other side, I was able to just kind of yank on the cover a little bit and start popping it off of these little clips, and was able to kind of work my way around. When it got to the taillight, it was a little tricky. I think you'll be better off if you try to actually, if you lift up on this piece right here, pull it out, there's a couple screws so you can remove this taillight cover. That makes it a little easier to remove the bumper cover from this part right here. For removing the bumper cover from these clips, you can just pull up on this weather stripping. Comes up pretty easily. That will, give you a little more line of sight. When the bumper cover is installed, you can't really reach these clips or see them. So, but if you remove this, pull up on this weather stripping, you'll be able to get to that and kind of pop those off one by one as you make your way around. Broke a clip there, as you can see, so I have got a little flex glue on that. Work your way all the way back around, and again, like I said, on this side, it's just these screws right here. Take out the mud flap as part of that, and one screw underneath. And as you're removing it, watch out for this. This is the rear parking sensor plug. There's a connector here that you have to disconnect. You basically just kind of use a small flat blade screwdriver to flip up, press up against one part of the connection, and it pulls apart. I just put this back in place and kind of taped it up to protect it from the elements. Once you've got the cover off, I ran into one little snafu here. This is the new piece. eBay is really the best source. In my opinion, this is a CAPA certified aftermarket piece. As you can see here, this is the old one. I have not yet removed the rear section, but it looks like it's pretty much just a matter of removing this bolt or screw and then just clips. If there's something different, I'll take another video later, but going around, there's another little bolt there. I'll probably have to reuse. The new bump didn't count. I'll probably take these clips off and reuse them. But the tricky part was, you also have to pop out the little rear deflector. It was super easy. Basically, it sits in right there, and basically all you have to do is squeeze this little piece with your finger or needle nose pliers, and it pops right out. My aftermarket bumper did not come with this little piece either, so you need to save that. It fits right there. Again, it was pretty easy to just push in on the tab, and that popped right out. I'm not even sure what that's for, but the aftermarket cover did not come with one, as you can see, so I'll have to reuse it. But the tricky part really was what to do about these chrome exhaust tips. I didn't realize until I got this piece out and tried to remove it that these are some sort of rivets, blind rivets or something like that. And of course, I have none. So You can see basically I'm having to tear off the end. There's one that is still intact. Basically having to rip these out and able to use needle nose and bend it back and forth and get it off. But then what to do, because unfortunately I don't have any of these rivets in stock. And I thought about just reusing this whole assembly, but this was actually glued or some sort of, yeah, it looks like it must have been glued on there. So I had to pry it off. I thought about just reusing the whole thing. But as you can see, my new bumper cover came with that already on, and I really didn't want to rip it off of the new one. So I figured I'd take the this little heat shield exhaust tip off. And but then I ran into the issue of the rivets. So anyway, I've improvised, since I don't have any of these little pop-in rivets. I was able to work in a couple of, at least on these top two, my fingers are pretty narrow. I was able to hold a nut in place and put a screw in there with a lot of thread locker. On this one, I tried to glue a nut in place, didn't really work out. So as you can see, I flex glued the crap out of it and crossed my fingers and just put some glue on that as well. I think it'll be fine. I'm not too worried. It's a bit of a hack, but yeah, that's how I roll. So anyway, just gonna repeat that process on the other side and then put things back together. We'll see how it goes. Thanks for watching. Everyone, here's the finished product. As you can see, turned out pretty well. I'm happy with the results. This again was an aftermarket part that I got off of eBay, Kappa certified, and I was a little concerned about a couple things on color, realizing that this little tow hook cover, whatever that is, did not come with the replacement part. That actually has a separate part number of its own. So I used the one from my original lower bumper cover. Blends right in from a color perspective, so that worked out great. Also, the trailer hitch cover piece is a separate part number, and I sourced that from a different eBay seller, and I'm sure it was made by a different manufacturer, so I had a little concern that it may not match exactly from a color perspective, but seems to blend in very well, certainly as well as the naked eye can see. Other than that, everything that I spoke about in the first video that I anticipated happening as far as putting things back together played out as I expected. No real surprises, just a few lessons learned, I would say. One, first lesson learned, if you can have a second pair of hands, it really helps. This part is not heavy, but it is large and it's a little cumbersome to get back up there. I did it by myself. I put a bunch of blankets all around this while I was working and definitely while putting it back up there, because you try to get it back up there and something's not quite aligned right, so you take it back down and need to put it on the ground. You don't want to scratch up the painted section of that bumper. The other lesson learned, I had to remove that taillight lens cover again. I don't know if it's just my car or if it's like that on all SRXs, but had to do it to get the bumper cover off, and I had to take that out to put the bumper cover back on. The thought crossed my mind, I should secure that with a bungee cord. I just had it propped up in the corner of the hatch, and I took a shortcut and did not secure that with a bungee cord. And what did I do? I knocked it loose, and as it knocked out of the hatch there, it put a chip in the paint of the painted section of the bumper cover. Not a big deal, nothing, a little dab of touch-up paint won't cover up, but don't do what I did. When you have that loose, make sure it's secured. And other than that, that's, just the replacement bumper cover. You know, it's not going to come with any fasteners or clips, so be sure to save all of those from your original bumper cover. But otherwise, no gotchas came up during the process of putting it back on. Again, really the only hiccup in the whole thing were the rivets that keep that tailpipe heat shield exhaust tip in place there. So I hacked my way around that, as I spoke about in the first segment. But otherwise, it turned out well. You know, this was a incident where a 16-year-old girl just got her license, just barely rear-ended my wife, and the girl's dad wanted to keep it off insurance. So I accepted a cash payment from him for the parts. I told him what I needed for what the parts were, and I told him this is what I think my time is worth, and made a couple $100 off the deal. So all worked out, I think, in the end. And if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments below. I'll keep an eye out. And thank you very much for watching.